We've just discovered some surprisingly alarming information about the Volkswagen Group, about its plan to fire a large number of its electric car production workers. Now, this comes at a time when tens of thousands of jobs, in fact, apparently in the latest reports, hundreds of thousands of jobs are in the process of being added in North America and have been added over the last few years thanks to electrification. So clearly, electrification should, at this point in time, actually be creating jobs, because we're taking away jobs. Look at the clean industry sector. It involves numerous areas: battery technology, battery actually production lines. You've also got, of course, the production of things like solar panels, battery storage. You've got so many different areas that support electric cars themselves. And EVs are growing. Their sales are up around 65% so far this year. So why is the Volkswagen Group, the entire group, struggling? Why is it firing electric car staff? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. And I'm just going to say a big thank you, a big shout out to all of you for supporting the channel this year. It's been a challenging year. You kind of don't appreciate psychologically the challenges that people go through individually. I never did, because I just didn't understand what it was like for them. I have friends and people that I knew of, but not close enough to really understand what it's like. So I just want to say, all of you have made this year manageable for me and, of course, for my family. So thank you. Volkswagen Group, well, things are not looking so manageable for them, unfortunately, right now. So far this year, the best-selling car in Europe is not a Volkswagen vehicle, which is quite a shock. The Volkswagen Golf has been the best-selling car for many years in Europe. Last year it wasn't. It was, I believe, a Peugeot, and this year it's a Tesla. However, it's just been reported that Volkswagen's electric car woes, I'm not talking just the Volkswagen brand here, I'm talking the group. It's like saying Stellantis, are worsening. They're cutting staff at their biggest German plant, the biggest plant by far. In fact, the Zwickau plant is the automaker's largest EV production site in the world. Volkswagen, in fact, is cutting back planned staffing at its EV plant. It says it's thanks to market conditions. Now, I should point out here, the truth is, the Volkswagen Group, the group as in all brands under the group, together do outsell Tesla in Europe when it comes to electric cars. This year, they're just leading Tesla by about 10% in EV deliveries. But it's not what they thought. I mean, they thought they could make more. The truth is, though, that the EVs they're making at these car plants are just too expensive. Too expensive to produce. Do they use gigacastings? Do they use structural battery packs? Are they using LFP batteries? Are they actually streamlining production in ways that some of their rivals are now doing? I mean, Hyundai Group have just said we need to do the same. We're going to use Tesla's gigacasting machines. We've got many Chinese manufacturers already doing it. BYD already does it. Do Volkswagen do any of that stuff in Germany? No. Herbert Diess said it takes them 30 hours. In fact, I think he said 33 hours to build an EV. And he said that it takes Tesla 10 hours. Herbert Diess was the former CEO of the Volkswagen Group. So this is not some sort of pro-Tesla fan site saying this kind of stuff. This is direct from the mouth of the CEO of the Volkswagen Group, saying it takes them 3 times as long to make an EV. And clearly that's the big problem here, profitability. Profitability matters when you have $186 billion in debt and, of course, want to borrow another $200 billion in order to transform your company for the future. That's the good news. At least Volkswagen is aware of what the future is. They're committed. They believe it is electric. They're just saying that they're stumbling right now. Production capacity at the Zwickau plant is 300,000 EVs per year. It builds fully electric cars on the automaker's MEB platform, including the Volkswagen ID3, the Audi Q4 e-tron, and Cupra Born, as well as bodies for Bentley and Lamborghini. Now, the thing is, at this factory, even though the theoretical production capacity is 300,000 electric cars per year, it is nowhere near meeting those numbers. It can't efficiently produce EVs yet. It's a long way from hitting those numbers. Now, it does produce close to that number in terms of cars per year, but not EVs per year. So efficiency is the big challenge that Volkswagen Group face. And it's the big reason why their electric cars are so much more expensive in Europe than China. The ID3 is literally half the price. In fact, slightly less than half the price in China versus what it costs in Europe. Why is that? Well, because the European ID3 doesn't come from China. That's likely to change though. Volkswagen had planned to give permanent employment to many of its staff, and it's now changed its plans. It's going to let those staff go. However, this is what Volkswagen said. The group continues to be 100% convinced of the path to electromobility. However, in light of the current market conditions, we cannot extend some of our contracts, which will run out shortly after a 12-month duration. Volkswagen is having a tough time selling enough of their mostly made in Germany electric cars to challenge Tesla's global dominance. And they say mostly, that's what Automotive News said, because, of course, some of them are made in China. Just keep that quiet though, because Volkswagen doesn't want to let anyone know. The German government wouldn't be happy if they knew that was happening. Now, of course, they know that's happening. I'm just joking. Let's have a look at the best-selling EV makers in the European Union over the first 6 months of 2023. Clearly the Volkswagen Group, which of course includes about 12 brands, are number one. Second was Tesla, followed by Stellantis, then Renault, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Geely, SAIC, of course, Geely and SAIC, both Chinese automakers. Next was Hyundai, then Kia. Toyota took a minuscule number, Nissan, minuscule, Ford, minuscule, Mazda, almost nothing, BYD, even less. So there's been a lot of hoopla recently about the Chinese dominance in the EV market in Europe. Now, it hasn't even happened yet. They think it's going to happen. That's where all this is coming from. But as you can see, BYD's EV sales, then you've got Great Wall underneath them, NIO underneath them. Their EV sales are a pittance, a tiny percentage of the EV market in Europe over the first 6 months of this year. You might be looking at these numbers I'm showing you and be thinking to yourself, hey, hang on a minute, I've been reading these websites. We all know what they are. And they tell me Stellantis is beating Tesla. And they say that, all these other numbers. And the reason for that is because these websites, they conflate, they basically put together electric cars and plug-in hybrid sales. Now this graph here is purely EV sales, not plug-in hybrids, which in the European Union have been proven rarely get driven as EVs. They don't. And the reason is because most plug-in hybrids are company cars, business cars, and on that business scenario, you get a fuel card. So when you take your car, when you take it to a petrol station or a gas service station, whatever you want to call it, gas station, you get the fuel for free. The business pays for it. It goes on the business card. But if you charge your EV using your own electricity, you've got to pay for it yourself. So no one charges them. This is why subsidies have been ended officially. There's no subsidies whatsoever now for plug-in hybrids in Germany. And in fact, a number of European countries have followed suit because they were like, what are we doing here? This is stupid. We're subsidizing basically petrol-powered cars. That's why I don't like this argument for people saying plug-in hybrids are EVs, because they're not. We need to start recognizing the fact that EVs are EVs. Plug-in hybrids are hybrids that are more often than not driven as gasoline-powered vehicles. And I think the evidence suggests this is the case anyway when you look at their range. Look at the average range of a plug-in hybrid in Germany. It's about 25 kilometers. Some of them are about 7 kilometers. I mean, yeah, some are 50, but the average range is not very big. So you can't really tell me that they're being driven as EVs all that often. Anyway, lackluster economic growth as well as higher energy living and borrowing costs in Europe have weighed on demand for ID fleet of EVs, says the Volkswagen Group. Orders from corporate clients, which amount for around 70% of the ID's builds at the plant, have been plummeting since a federal subsidies for battery-powered company vehicles expired this month. Basically, this has all happened within a few weeks. EV sales were really, really good in July, and all of a sudden, German car makers are panicking, especially Volkswagen Group, of course. About 10,700 staff work at the Zwickau plant. This is where Volkswagen has actually spent 1.2 billion euros converting the production lines to electric vehicle production. Now, that gives you a good idea of just how expensive, how much money it costs to convert production lines from internal combustion to being EV production lines. But to be fair, I mean, that's the price you pay if you want to do an average job of it. If you want to do a proper job of it, first of all, you need a better platform than the MEB platform, which is, it's just too heavy. But also you need something that's actually cheaper to produce, is lighter, and also something that costs less to manufacture. It takes less time. And 1.2 billion was never going to get it done. That, in my opinion, was the biggest mistake they made. It's sort of the hubris of manufacturers thinking, we're the kings, we know how to manufacture cars, we'll do it, we'll figure it out, ignore what Tesla's doing, who cares what they're doing. Now, Herbert Diess, of course, didn't see it that way, and he was fired. Anyway, Volkswagen is now facing increasing competition from Tesla, and of course, those Chinese EV manufacturers I just mentioned. MG4, in particular, MG cars are starting to have an impact on the market as well. They're also seeing dampened demand in the European EV market due to high inflation and cuts to subsidies. But at the same time, Volkswagen doesn't really, as a group, they really want to sell as many gasoline-powered cars as they can and not as many EVs. That's the real heart of the matter here. And I keep mentioning this. I don't think anyone else is saying this. They should be. Because the Volkswagen Group don't make profits on EVs. Neither does basically any legacy automaker that anyone knows of. None of them have claimed them to make a profit on EVs ever. Maybe the Rematch Navira supercar, I'm going to imagine they make a profit on those, but everything else, they're not profitable. So the Volkswagen Group, if anything, wants to limit its losses until it has to. That's what most automakers have been doing. Now, of course, if you're a luxury car manufacturer, it's a little bit easier for BMW, Mercedes, and of course Audi cars to make a profit because people are willing to pay more money for a luxury car. Volkswagen is following Tesla, BMW, and others in exporting EVs from lower cost China to Europe. And the German government has been panicking lately. European Union is now threatening to put import tariffs on these Chinese-made EVs. Its Cooper brand has announced plans to reduce the Tavascan SUV and a factory in China. Built on the same hardware and software platforms as the ID series, the model is due to hit the European market in 2024. It's unclear how the competitive landscape for Chinese-made cars develops after the European Union on Wednesday said it's launching an investigation into Chinese EV subsidies that they believe basically the Chinese government is state-sponsoring China's invasion of Europe, and they want to ward off this scary flood of imports that they believe are about to come into Europe and just completely flood the market. Now, this could happen. There are millions of cars in China right now that can't find homes. Very possible. Plus, keep in mind, the sale price of vehicles in China is, well, for EVs, it's about half the price of what it is in Europe. So if they came into Europe and they maybe didn't sell them at twice the price, maybe just added 20%, well, then they could make a bit of profit, not sell them at a loss. And all of a sudden, European customers have a massive array of choice. What are they going to choose? Probably the cheapest ones. Not all of them, but a lot of them will. Volkswagen Group clearly is stuck between a rock and a hard place. However, this is, of course, a very complex situation. So what I want to know is, what do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day.